I tend to take things too far. And that's often a great thing. It's led me to some really interesting places and some very interesting pets. But when you're thinking about adding a new animal to your family, what you need to know is some practical things, some emotional things, some lifestyle things, and let's face it, some cool factor things. So today I'm going to tell you everything that I've learned since I started keeping day geckos and help you to decide whether they're the right match for your family and what you want from your new reptile pet. There are some really strong opinions when it comes to enclosures for keeping reptiles. I mean, there is for all pets, and understandably, what a lot of animals need is space. But it's not just how much room they have that matters, it's how you use it. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I set up my day geckos, how I made the decisions that I made, and what's involved in the upkeep. So you can see behind me here, that is my Standingies, Phelsuma Standings day gecko tank, and that is set up bioactively. And to the other side of me here, that's my Grandis, my Madagascan giant day geckos tank. And you can see that one of them is slightly smaller than the other, and that is purely because I set this up for two who have now been separated for fighting, and this for one. They've both got lots of space, and they're both, including live plants, plenty of places to hide. And you can see at the bottom here, we've got this special drainage layer that stops the soil from getting too wet when we have to spray down the plants every day, because that's how they drink. They are fantastic fun to set up. I absolutely love doing these bioactive tanks, and you can go as over the top or as pared down as you want to. If you are keen on hugely overtly fantastical designs, check out the Serpa Designs YouTube channel. There's literally nowhere better on the internet to look for that kind of creative thing. But if you just want to have this living ecosystem, it's pretty simple to do. You've got your clay balls drainage layer at the bottom. You've then got some mesh to separate the soil from it, your substrate layer, which is basically a fancy way of saying soil, and then it's all nicely planted. And these are all plants that thrive in a tropical environment. It's sprayed down morning and evening, and we've got some little tunnels for the day gecko to hide in as well. They really need somewhere to hide. Some people won't put hides into the enclosure because they want to see them, and I understand that way of thinking. But to my mind, what we want first and foremost is for our animals to be comfortable and happy, and having somewhere to feel secure helps them to do that. And as a result, 2 out of 3 of my day geckos will now tongue feed from me, come up to see me and show a bit of curiosity when I'm near the tank. And I genuinely think that if you don't give them this ability to hide when they want to, that they're not going to properly express those nice confident behaviours when they feel ready. You also need a heat source at the top that's currently off, so it's obviously warm enough in there. Must be plugged into a thermostat. There you go. And a nice UVB strip. Now there are very specific types of UVB for different sort of arboreal or terrestrial animals. These are arboreal, they go up into the trees, and I'll pop a link down below in the comments section to the right sort that you'll need for your animals. Day geckos can be fed on an entirely shop-bought diet. Products like Rapashi or Pangea are a fruit and insect dried mix that you just add a little bit of water to, stir it up and pop it into a cup in the tank. And they can live perfectly long, happy lives just on that. However, I do also once a week give my day geckos the opportunity to hunt. So I'll put in between 1 and 5 crickets, depending on how big they are, and I will either tongue feed them directly to the day gecko, or I'll let them climb around inside the enclosure and let the day gecko do a bit of hunting. It's really good for them to be able to express that natural hunting behaviour. It's enriching, and then the tongue feeding is obviously for me to have a little bit of bonding time with the gecko. This particular one behind me, who is hiding now just to prove all of those comments people make about day geckos as pets, is has never taken food off the tongs, and I don't push it because it just stresses her out. So I just let her do her own thing, and all the crickets are always gone by the morning. The one thing I would say is don't do free release with locusts if you've got a live planted enclosure, as I've found to my detriment. They eat your beautiful plants. But that's literally all that they need. So once a week, small handful of bugs, and I replace the Repashy every 2 to 3 days, depending on how much of it's been eaten or whether it's stopped looking in such a good condition. When it doesn't look fresh anymore, if you don't think they would want to eat it, they probably don't want to eat it. So pop it out and replace it then for them. It is possible to get day geckos of any variety handleable. However, it is really, really rare, and I can't stress this enough. You do occasionally see footage of them being handled online, and you will hear a friend of a friend of a friend who had one and it used to ride around on his head and was really chill, and that's great. And I suspect that quite a lot of the footage that you see of them being handled was taken and then it disappeared into the distance and needed catching again later. They are insanely fast. They are jumpers to rival your average crested gecko, but once they've jumped, they'll zoom across the room. One of mine jumped onto my chest once when I was wiping the windows, and genuinely, I don't know what happened in the gap between him being in the tank and then being on me. Fortunately, it was my most confident one, so I was able to pop him back in again. But they, as well as dropping their tail like a lot of geckos can, they can also loosen the skin on their bodies. And obviously this is just not ideal. It's something you really want to avoid. It's their last ditch mechanism to get away from predators. So yes, tongue feed them if they are confident and showing an interest. That's brilliant. And what I do with my most confident standing day gecko is once I'm tongue feeding him, I put my other hand into the enclosure, nearer and nearer and nearer. He will occasionally lick at my fingers. And as I said, he occasionally jumps on me. But this is not a pick up and go pet like your average cresty or indeed leopard gecko. This is a much more for looking, not for touching sort of an animal. And you know what? That's okay. If you've only got room for one reptile, one good decent setup, and you want to be able to handle them, I wouldn't go for a day gecko. No matter how much I love them, that's not the pet for you. If you want a good handling gecko in a terrestrial setup, you're much better off going with something like a crested gecko or a gargoyle gecko. My crested gecko, must be honest, has also bitten me. These guys never have, but they've had a lot less opportunity to do so, and crested gecko bites don't hurt, so it's all fine. And it's just a sign that they're stressed. It was only just after I brought him home. We won't worry about that too much. But yes, so day geckos, fantastic, beautiful pets to look at. Mine are all set up in my study, so I sit and work at my desk and I can watch them and they comfortably come out and explore. And it's really, really lovely to have. But if you want something to pick up and carry about on your shoulder, then have a little think about what else is available.